Today's Gospel passage continues right after our passage from yesterday. The disciples that met Jesus on the road to Emmaus and recognized him in the breaking of bread immediately turned around and went back to Jerusalem to share their story with the rest of the disciples. They had turned away from the flock, but Jesus, the Good Shepherd, had gone after them to bring them back into the fold. After their return to Jerusalem, Jesus reappeared to them and the other disciples, and we hear that they were so terrified they thought he was a ghost until Jesus asked for something to eat. Jesus knows that we must experience things gradually through our human senses in order to understand them. He directs them to look at his hands and his feet, the wounds of the crucifixion. The apostles had to hear him speak peace and touch him and see his wounds and watch him eat before they could grasp the reality of his death and resurrection. They had to personally encounter Christ's suffering and humanity before they could grasp his divinity. They didn't really understand that Jesus had to suffer before he would rise. Suffering is a bit of a mystery. Jesus knew that by taking on our humanity, he would have to take on the human condition of suffering. He entered into suffering and death in order to defeat it. So his suffering was the remedy for our sin, bringing us salvation and victory. And we, who are his disciples, follow Jesus all the way to the cross of his self-giving love. Now, suffering comes to each one of us. How we bear it and for whom we bear it makes all the difference. When we suffer, we can offer up our pain and our tears to our Lord and unite them with his sacrifice on the cross. Being a Christian in today's world means that we will all suffer at some point in his name. When we say we want to be the hands and the feet of Jesus in this world, we must remember what happened to the hands and the feet of Jesus. It was through his wounds and suffering that Jesus was able to love perfectly. So it is with us. Through our wounds, we can learn how to love. St. John of the Cross reminds us that God comes to know us through the scars on the internal walls of our souls, because it is in these very scars that his grace can reside.